What's going on? Welcome to Totally Blitz Podcast. We in the Fight Club talking UFC Charlotte, not Nashville. Sorry, Max. But as always, go down, like and subscribe. Comment your picks for this card because it's a pretty deep card for a fight night. And these are your hosts. I'm Paul Pick and Win Concha, and I'm joined with.
You already know, man. It's your boy Kev. Waterboy's your boy, aka the Don PYE, aka the realest motherfucker on your screen.
And then boys are heading to Charlotte. It's gonna be a fucking banger. What is it? Jarzinho Rosenstrike versus Jailton Almeida is the main event. It wasn't the main event at first. It was Anthony Smith versus Johnny Walker. But of course, shit gets moved around when fights get canceled, things get moved, shit like that. So now we got a new main card for you. And honestly, it's one of the probably deepest fight night cards so far of the year. I mean, on the prelims, you got Matt Brown versus Court McGee as a featured prelim fight, or Carl Williams versus Chase Sherman. A couple fight nights ago, this fight was on there, or maybe no, this was the pay per view for UFC 287 fight. It moved to this prelims, and then other names like Ian Gary, fucking a lot of people are thinking the next big star out of Ireland. He's on this bitch versus D-Rod, and shout out MMA Crew from the Twitter chat. D-Rod's actually his homeboy. He be training with him and everything. So like D-Rod's his guy. So he's actually be tuned into this card pretty deep. But like Kev, what do you want to talk about UFC Charlotte?
Bro, the fact that they go to fucking Charlotte and not Nashville.
Nashville would have been lit, bro. The Nashville would have been lit.
He made Nashville would have been dumb lit, but we in Charlotte would have been. What crowd do you think respect? I'm turning into a crowds guy. I like turning up during the main card so I can see how the crowds are reacting to shit. I'm turning into a crowd guy. What crowd do you think we can expect with Charlotte?
So I was expecting the similar to Kansas City crowd because there's not too much to do in Charlotte. Like Charlotte got basketball, but the Hornets ain't fucking making no playoffs. But Charlotte, there's not too much to do outside of NFL and NBA stuff. So I actually have family members that live near the city, and like even they'll say like, yeah, like there ain't too much to do. So I was expecting a Kansas City similar crowd where they'll show up, especially it's like still a southern state. So like you get that rowdiness of the people. But the prelims are 11:30 in the morning. Main card starts at 3:30 in the afternoon, and like it's just so early. I just don't know how much drinking is gonna be done in Charlotte for this fight. So like I mean, DJing like me, I'm coming in loaded up before the fight. Still, like it don't matter if it's fucking 1 in the morning main event or 1 in the afternoon main event. So like the fights being early as fuck in the daytime, I don't know if that's gonna play a factor in the crowd or not.
Wait, what time did the fight start? This is
11:30, and they end at it should be over about like 5 in the afternoon, 5:36.
Oh, that's crazy. Like I got time to relax.
Yeah, so like that's what I'm saying. If it was a prime time, I think we'd be expecting another Kansas City crowd. But since it's earlier in the day, I don't think they're gonna bring as much of that drunken ferocity with them.
Nah, that's real shit. But hey, man, that's how it goes sometimes.
And I do think this on paper, this could be the fight night card that I think is gonna beat Kansas City. It might not be because of the crowd, but on paper, like this is a very deep card. Like they very good card for a fight night. It could have honestly been a pay-per-view, maybe. I mean, it may definitely a better main card if it's gonna be pay-per-view, but the prelims are there. The prelims are stacked.
Yeah, they would have just moved. They would just moved a lot of the prelims to the early prelims, and it would have been a dumb lit card.
Nah, facts. But jumping before we even jump into the main card itself, because everyone knows we like to break down the main card as deep as possible. We're gonna jump into the cut man corner, and I'm gonna name some fights that I think you gotta keep your eye on, especially because they're not a lot on the line, but it's just do not leave the room for when these fights happen. One of them, our boy, featured prelim fighter. He is an underdog in the featured prelim. Matt Brown, the legend, versus Court McGee. Matt Brown's plus 175, McGee minus 210. if you know anything about Matt Brown fights, you know he's fucking bringing it. He ain't going down. He likes to go to war. He likes to take a shot, land a shot. He likes to throw some elbows in there with it. There will be blood, and this fight will be exciting.
Nah, dead ass, man. I mean, Matt Brown's one of my dogs. I remember watching one of his fights. I'll never forget. It's just because of what I was doing at the time. I was like at a gala, like I was at a ball. People were suited up, booted up, and I'm just watching bro just go ham. And I want to say Austin, but Matt Brown's definitely an old school guy. He always comes in with the idea of like, yo, we're about to fuck some shit up. I don't care who wins. So like, it's gonna be a good fight. I fuck with Matt Brown. You think fight of the night, maybe?
I think it's gonna be fight of the night. That's any Matt Brown fight. I always like to pick as the fight of the night.
On some Justin Gaethje shit.
Yeah, he's just the older version with a lot more losses.
Yeah.
And then another fight. It's the second fight on the prelims. It's gonna be Brian Battle versus Gabe Green. They're both welterweights here, but Brian Battle 9-2. He's coming off a loss, but he was the ultimate season 29 tough semifinalist. Continue, but since then he's 3-1. He has a good win over Takashi Sato, Treson Gore, Gilbert Urbina. Gilbert Urbina trains with Cowboy and them. But Gabe Green, couple good knockout wins over some people that didn't think he would knock out. It's literally a pick 'em fight. It's gonna be a fun fight because these are both youngins that have a lot to prove still. And those young fighters that have a lot to prove, especially early in the prelims, they like to show out. They like to put them all into the fight. So I just think this would be a good fight. I'm not saying fight of the night, but it's a fight that I really don't know who's gonna win. And those are some of the best fights to go into.
No, I respect that to the fullest. I fuck with Brian Battle. It's always exciting. I want to say I watched this fight against Treson Gore, and I was like, oh, this dude isn't just some long haired motherfucker. I was thinking, I was like, bro, go get you a surfboard. Nah, he's coming ready to battle. So I'm definitely looking forward to this fight.
And then the other two fights I'm gonna bring up, yes, they're on the main card, but we're not gonna go too deep into them. Is Carlos Ulberg, CKB fighter, Kev's favorite fighters, gym right there. But CKB fighter, face of New Zealand right now at light heavyweight. He's 8-1, going up against Ihor Porteria. Ihor, we saw him get the knockout win over Shogun Rua in his last fight. That was Shogun Rua's last fight in the UFC. And he did the Shogun Rua slaying, he did the Shogun Rua dance to Shogun Rua. A lot of people booed him for it. But then he did come out afterwards and say, in his country, that's a sign of respect because you just beat a fellow warrior or something. But he's from Poland. He's another one of them Poland power motherfuckers, super strong. And Ulberg, I mean, fucking knockout machine so far. And they both share a common opponent. The common opponent is what's his name? So, Nikolai Negumanu, and Ulberg knocked him out, whereas Porteria got knocked out by him. So MMA math would tell you Ulberg gonna win. The odds would tell you Ulberg gonna win -400. But we'll see. I mean, this is light heavyweight, and these are two strong motherfuckers that could put each other's lights
out. Write that down. This the fight to not take a shower during.
No, and this is the first fight on the main card here, and I think that they put it on there for a reason because they both know these two guys are going to stand and bang. Very similar to the Drew Dauber Frivola fight, where the odds were telling you, okay, Drew Dauber's a big favorite here, he should win, but everyone knew walking into it, this is going to be a puncher's chance for anybody because both of them have the power and both like to bang.
Facts.
And Ulberg's only loss so far, he's 8-1. His one loss was to Kennedy Nixextru, who we saw last week get the fucking win over Devin Clark. So, not a bad loss to start off in your UFC career. Then let's get and then the very that wasn't the first fight on the prelim on the main card. The first fight on the main card that was Tim Means versus Alex Morano. Tim Means is another Matt Brown cut caliber guy. He will take a shot to land a shot. He's your drunk uncle with the beer belly that used to practice a little bit of boxing and BJJ back in the day. He's ready to scrap with anybody. So that's Tim Means in Matt Brown's nutshell. And like they're back to back. So like either both of those fights could take fight of the night for me, the Tim Means or the Matt Brown fight. Both are underdogs, and of course I'm gonna bet on both of them. Even though I don't think they'll win, I gotta bet on my guys.
Nah, dead ass man. I got my dog. I was actually sleeping on this fight. I heard of Morono, but Tim Means, I didn't know he was a power. He was a menace to society like that. I need to see what my boy talking about.
Yeah, and Tim Means needs to get off the schneid. He has a 2-fight losing streak right now. One to Kevin Holland was a submission, and other ones to Max Griffin. Not bad losses at the welterweight division. But Holland on his way up. Max Griffin, one of those fringe 15 guys. So not really too bad losses back to back, but we'll see. It's gonna be a good fight. On to the fights we're gonna talk more in depth here. The ones we really care about more. Like, these are the ones that actually hold a little bit more weight in the divisions. Reason why they're in the fucking main card. Ian Gary, undefeated, 11-0, going up against Daniel Rodriguez, D-Rod, 17-3. I mean, Ian Gary minus 320, big favorite here. I would say I wouldn't trust those odds too much because D-Rod's boxing is really good. He's good ground game defense, good takedown defense. And Ian Gary, I mean, he still might be a little wet behind the ears, even though he got a couple wins so far. He's looked fucking great in all his wins, coming off of a third-round knockout. And this will be his 5th fight into the UFC. So far, he's yet to lose. He's looked really good in everything. So I can see why he's the big favorite. But I also think the big favorite's kind of – this is not going to be a fight where he's going to go in there, at least in my opinion, going to get a 30-27 or an easy knockout. Like, this is going to be a real, true test. So I think these odds should be a lot closer. Put a little bit more respect on D-Rod. D-Rod's always game for a fight. If y'all remember last year, whenever the fucking Kevin Holland, Tony Ferguson fight and Hamzat Chimaev, when all that shit was going on in that fight card and they end up having to change everything around, D-Rod didn't give a fuck who he fought. He was like, bro, as long as I'm fighting Saturday, I don't care. Instead of fighting Kevin Holland, I'm going to fight Leach. Okay, cool. And then he goes out there and gets a split decision win over Leach. Got a unanimous decision over Mike Perry, current BKFC champion. Got a win over Kevin Lee. And coming off a loss against Neil Magny, not a bad loss. But, I mean, this is going to be a true test for Ian. Is Ian Gary legitimate? Is he really cut to be a champion? If he is, this is going to be the fight where it's going to be like, okay, put him in the top 15. Now he is one of the packs. He's part of the Wolves. So it's gonna be a good fight. I want to see it. I got Ian Gary. I can't go against the demon from Ireland.
I mean, I fuck with Ian Gary. I've probably seen him fight a few times. But I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I felt like the Leech won that fight against D-Rod in the Kevin Holland, Nate Diaz, whatever.
I did too.
So like, I kind of need my dog Ian Gary to kind of win this one out of respect for my dog the Leech. I'm like, come on, man. I mean, D-Rod definitely did have some crisp ass boxing, but like, I need my boy to really go ahead and show like, hey man, I'm a fucking issue too. And I'm mad he doesn't have a picture on ESPN. Like, where the fuck is my dog picture at?
Hey, he's still wet behind the ears. No, but like they're both like not both young. D-Rod's 36 and Gary's 25, so there's like an 11-year age gap there. Maybe we see the experience pay off. That's what I really want to see this fight. I might even sprinkle money on D-Rod because I really think this fight's a lot closer because like Ian Gary isn't going to be taking people down and submitting. Like that's not what he does a lot. Like he likes to trade, and like D-Rod has really good boxing.
We'll see, but I got my dog Ian Gary, but that would be smart. This is sprinkle, you know what I'm saying? Sprinkle. But if you had sprinkled a little bit on I forgot who the minus 600 dude was. If you just sprinkled a little bit on them boys.
Yeah. A co-main event is a pick'em. It was the main event. It got moved to co. Anthony Smith's return fight since the injury against Megalmed in the fight versus Johnny Walker, who went from almost getting cut from the UFC to back-to-back wins in dominating fashion. One over a knockout over Ion Kutalepa, and one with this knockout of Paul. He got the submission of Kutalepa, and he knocked out Paul Craig Looney Tunes style with like some backhands on the like it was a weird ass knockout, but the power is there. Johnny Walker trying to make things right at light heavyweight, and if he beats Anthony Smith, it puts him back into that like that top mix. But if he loses to Anthony Smith, I think he can be back to where he was like last year, where it's like, okay, like this toy's broken, I'm done with it, type of mentality with like how they're gonna deal with him. But I don't know. It's a pick 'em. Both minus 110.
Bro, so it's crazy to me how this fight is like not the main event. Because I was watching a documentary on ESPN today, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like, why are we who the fuck thought Rosenstrike and Almeida was really him like that? But this fight, like you said, is a pick 'em. It's close as fuck. This shit could go either way. I didn't know that Anthony Smith was like an OG. He fucking fought John Jones for the title at one point. And then Johnny Walker actually is on his Charles Oliveira, trying to get on his Charles Oliveira shit. Cause like, and he's also only lost the hitters. He lost to what? Jamal Hill, Krylov, motherfucking. Who else did he lose to? Like he's
Johnny
lost to
Walker.
some.
Yeah, Jamal Hill, Thiago Santos before his departure, Krylov, Corey Anderson before he went to Bellator. But he had some good
So,
wins with Ryan Spann, Paul Craig, Roundtree.
so he's fought some hitters, man, and he knows what he's doing out there in the cage. So I respect him.
Yeah. And the big thing to see here is Johnny Walker's gonna have a 6-inch reach advantage. That's why he was first brought in as the light heavyweight. He was known as like the John Jones stopper because he has an 82-inch reach. And I was like, no one in the light heavyweight division had a reach that could even compare to John Jones at the time. And now they had this Brazilian that was a black belt of BJJ that had the same reach and crazy power, similar to like Paulo Costa was to Izzy when they first brought him into the UFC. He was supposed to be the Izzy stopper. That was Johnny Walker when he first came in, and then afterwards he didn't look too good, and then that's why I say like I wouldn't be shocked if he loses this fight. Like he's back on like like Dana White looks at these fighters as like toys and like oh my toy's broken, and he just like throws it to the side. Like that Johnny Walker's on very thin ice if he loses.
Nah, bro. I mean, that win against Paul Craig is a pretty good, impressive win. But it's crazy how big he is. Bro's like 6'6".
Oh yeah, he's massive.
Killing shit.
He always has a reach and size advantage on almost every fighter.
Fucking huge in a division full of Titans. So it's like, whoa. So I respect, bro. I mean, I seen from the documentary, I seen that he's really focused. I seen he's coming really focused. He has a right support system. He has his wife. She's out here getting my boy right, putting him on point, keeping them together. He has a very laid back mentality. He's a great person. So I would love to see Johnny Walker go in there and fuck my dog Anthony Smith up. But I think Anthony Smith's gonna come in real technical. I think I want to see what the fuck he's doing. What the fuck what the fuck is he gonna do to not get to the ground? Because I think Johnny Walker has the advantage on the ground. But this fight could go either way. How you see it going?
See, I think it's more if he has to take it to the ground, not try to submit him. But Anthony Smith does have good BJJ in his own right, good submissions. He has a lot of submissions.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought he was a striker.
He was a striker, but he's more like he's that old cloth. Like, he's been in the UFC for so long at this point. Like he's kind of like how Cowboy's known for striking. But if you ever watch like those MMA like submission events they do, it'll be like Cowboys in those submission events all the time because like motherfucker has good BJJ. It's just like you kind of start doing it after a while. So like Johnny Walker is more like a Thiago Santos because like he's just this Brazilians like Paulo Costa. Like they're not known for submitting people, but like they're Brazilian. Like they're known for like they have BJJ. Like that shit is in their back pocket. And I could see this fight going two ways. Either Anthony Smith comes in, like you say, real technical, real like he has the IQ. He's been in these big fights. He knows how to carry himself a lot. And I could see him getting the good decision win, especially he's only 3 rounds. He knows he can pull out the gas tank early. He can get, and he needs to look good after the loss to Ankalaev. I know he broke his leg or whatever, but still, he still need to come back looking good. Or people are gonna be talking about, man, go sit your ass back in the commentating booth. One of the two things. It's either Johnny Walker, I think, knocks his ass out, catches him, or is just too strong and is in top position and ground and pound KO kind of style. or Anthony Smith comes down, real technical game plan and grinds his way to a victory. And I let's go back to like 2017 or something. Where was this fight card? 2018. You go all the way back to 2018. And this is the last fight I felt like Anthony Smith had a similar opponent, and it was Thiago Santos. And Thiago Santos knocked him out in the second round with a kick. Anthony Smith had one takedown, didn't have much control time. And I could, everything is telling me put the house on Anthony Smith here. He's a better overall all around fighter. He should be an MMA at the end of the day. It's not just who's stronger in the better hands, it's MMA. But I just have a weird, I'm not going to bet this fight just because I have a weird feeling where this is going to be a Johnny Walker gets like a first or second round KO. And it's just like fight's over and on to the main event. So I'm going to very slightly go with Johnny Walker. But I will say, like, don't be like, oh, I told you that it's going to be like, if Anthony Smith comes in there and it's a 3-round fight and it's 30-27 Anthony Smith, I'll be like, damn, I should have, like, because all signs to me is like MMA, like Anthony Smith should win this fight. But I just have a feeling like I said that shit with Derek Lewis versus Tai Tuivasa. Tai Tuivasa knocked his ass out. You know, it's just like, oh, sometimes these MMA fighters don't use MMA. They just like to stand. And I think Johnny Walker just might get a fucking early knockout here.
Paul, do I look like the type of guy to say, I told you so? Me? I would never. I would never. Me? Never. Remember when you chose, that nigga Todd over Izzy the second time.
But Johnny Walker, I mean, I think the thing that's going to play the biggest part is this big ass reach advantage. Anthony Smith's going to have to come in from a distance for the takedowns. And I think Johnny Walker can be able to get him off. He's a stronger fighter himself. He's just bigger. And I think he will defend it. And if it's on the stand, they're standing for most of the fight, which I kind of see happening, Johnny Walker thinks this is too strong of a fighter to be standing with. If you're not yourself like a really crisp stand-up fighter, you got to be really crisp to really outpower these opponents.
Facts. It's going to be a good ass fucking fight. And also, I think Johnny Walker has a chance to get a fight of the night bonus if he can get the KO.
Is that who you going with? Is it Johnny? Are you walking with the Brazilian with me? Or it's a pick 'em, so like.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm Bramo Brazil. Anytime I get a chance, I'm not like Poton getting every fucking fighter wrong last week. But yeah,
that's a good point. Brazil needs to bounce back this week. Last week they got obliterated on the main card.
Yeah, they got killed. That shit was bad. Not one.
But they're sending their best hitter for the main event here. You got Rosenstrike versus Almeida. Rosenstrike minus 500 favorite, one of the biggest favorites we've seen in a main event in a while. It has been a while since we've seen a big favorite like this main event card. But I mean, he's worth every fucking minus whatever it is, bro. Because he just knocks people out. Submission. One of the best top game wrestlers in the heavyweight division. And there's not many great wrestlers in the heavyweight division. He can submit you, black belt BJJ. He can knock you out. He has really good hands. His wrestling is dominant. He really is a scary force in the heavyweight division. He's yet to see a decision in the heavyweight. Has yet to see any type of decision. Every fight he's been in has been finished in the first or second round. So, I mean, I love Rosenstrike. I nickname him the Mini Francis. He only usually loses to top hitters. He doesn't lose to bums. But, I mean, Almeida is a cut from a different cloth. 7 knockouts, 11 submissions, 18 wins. 17 of his 18 wins are finishes. So, like, Almeida, if y'all aren't on the Almeida train yet, he should be the next in line. Like, Sergey Pavlovich might take over, but I think all signs point to like Almeida in the top 3 by next year. Or not top 3, but top 5. By the end of this year, Almeida should be in the top 5 mix or being talked about it because if there's tiers, there are definitely tiers. And even though he's not in the top 5 rankings, he is an S tier fighter. He is fucking a top 5 guy.
Nah, dead ass. He kills motherfuckers. His only loss is a decision. Oh no, he has one loss that from a KO on my birthday, August 5th, 2017. That was actually a lit ass day. He has one loss from 2017 in a completely different organization. And the only decision he's ever gone to was the loss. The rest, he's just killed motherfuckers. A
And
lot of rear
the
naked
fight
choke.
that he
Don't let
lost
him
in
take it.
decision, you know what's funny? The guy that he lost in a decision to got knocked out by Paulo Costa in a different weight class. Paulo Costa fights at middleweight, and he's fighting at heavyweight. That's kind of crazy to me because Paulo Costa could be a heavyweight if he put on the weight, and Jailton could probably be a light heavyweight if he cut a little bit more weight.
That shit is crazy as fuck. But this is gonna be a fucking banger of a fight. How do you think it goes?
Oh, Jailton in the first round or two.
Damn.
Either by submission or KO. I would hammer finish and before I don't know. I think the over under probably is set at like a round and a half or 2.5. I think this fight's over in the first 2 rounds. I think it, and I would take by submission or like get the double chance. Probably makes it a pick 'em minus 110, 120. Jailton Almeida to win by submission or KO because both are on the table with him. Like it's however like once he knocks you down, it could be a knockout and he's going in with the hammer fist, or he might just jump on top of you. And next thing you know, you're in a triangle and the fight's over. So
that's crazy. I was really expecting to put a lot of respect on Rosenstrike because I was gonna take Jailton Almeida because like I was watching some highlights and his name is Jailton, so I was like, yeah, I'm not fucking with him, bro.
I mean, Rosenstrike, he got a first round knockout. He got knocked down the first round to Volkov, who doesn't have power in his hands. And then he gets a KO win in 20 seconds over Chris Dawkins. And you know my hate for the Dawkins brothers. These motherfuckers should not be in the UFC, bro. I remember I bet so much money on Rosenstrike to beat him and by KO. And it happened so quick. Like, it's like, so I just don't look at that win going into this like, okay, maybe he has a shot. I was like, okay, like this, I honestly could see this being a first round finish, bro. This is going to be a one-sided fight.
I think that's why they made this the main event. They knew that my dog Jailton was gonna go out there and finish it early. So they was like, all right, now everybody go home. Get the fuck out.
Yeah, like, we only paid for this shit till 4. I gotta go. But he's the only weighs 230. He's like a Tom Aspinall, real lean motherfucker, Sergey Pavlovich. So like he might have to put on some weight when he moves up to like not moves up when he fights like Pavlovich and them boys. But he's just a lean, mean machine right now. And hammer him. But I mean, there's not much else to talk about that fight because it really I love Rosenstrike. I cannot stress that enough. Rosenstrike was one of my favorite heavyweights. But Jailton Almeida really is just the next coming. John Jones is getting out of the division at the perfect time.
That motherfucker comes through killing this shit. It's a wrap. I fuck with it. All right, man. That's the card, man. I'm fucking with Jailton Almeida, man.
All right. Well, boys, we'll catch y'all. Maybe we'll see y'all live. It is an early card, so we might be live Saturday for the UFC Charlotte, not Nashville. Jailton Almeida versus Joseph Rosenstrike. And I will say Anthony Smith versus Johnny Walker. That was the original main event. As always, if y'all didn't know, we don't mind telling y'all, this has been Totally Blitz Podcast. We were in the Fight Club breaking down UFC Charlotte with your host, Paul Pick and Win Concha, Kev, Street Fight Enthusiast Savoy. If y'all ain't know, well, now y'all know, motherfuckers.